Well, great to be with you, generations. Happy Mother's Day. We want to honor all of our moms in our congregation today for everything you do, all that you are. We wouldn't be here without you. I'm not a mom myself, but I'm a big fan, and I have mine here with me today. Her name is Suzanne, and I can thank her for a couple things, for music in my life, for building the kingdom, just making that really important for us, and also just to keep Jesus the center of our lives. And so one of the truths that she's taught us is, to remember how big he is, and that there's nothing that he can't do. And we're going to sing about that today. So stand up wherever you are, and we're going to worship together.
Calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that he can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Oh, say just one word, you heal what's broken inside. Just one word, and you revive every dream. Yes, you do, Lord. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that he can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Yeah. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall he can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing you can't do. Nothing you can't do. Yeah. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Come on, say, I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like his power. There's nothing that His kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't feel evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. Take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from.
You're the best mom in the world because you love us and you love God with all your heart.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
We love you.
She's always there for us when we need her. She's loving and caring, and she'll always love us no matter how many times we get in trouble. Thanks, Mom.
I love her because she's really sweet. I care for her a lot because I know she wants to do stuff. She's really sweet and I love her so much. It's really hard to explain, but I love her.
My mom is an absolute dime. She's a peacemaker, a caretaker, and will be with you no matter what. Thanks, Mom, for always showing me unconditional love.
She's super duper nice and she provides me food.
What makes your mom the best mom in the world?
She cooks me food and loves me so much and washes the dishes and the plate.
She takes care of me and loves me. Happy Mother's Day.
I'm just so glad that I have the mom that I have. She always teaches us about the Bible every day. She teaches us instruments. She teaches us activities. She teaches us so much. She lets us learn even though school has been out. She even makes us have the best surprises when our birthday is coming up and we can't go anywhere. She makes our lives so much better than without her, and I'm so glad that I have the mom that I have.
I think my mom's the best mom on earth because she's kind and hardworking and she never gives up on something she's wanting to do.
I love my mom because she always makes us a good breakfast and she takes us to go do fun things and she's kind and hardworking.
I think Mommy's beautiful. Mommy gives us so many kisses.
The unconditional love that she has for all of us and the sacrifices that she makes is more than anyone could ever ask for.
So what makes my mom the best mom in the world is probably she's always so sweet and she always be caring for us. Even if she's mad, she always calms down quickly and she makes us feel like a family.
I love my mommy because God made her mine.
Happy Mother's Day, Mommy.
I love my mommy because I don't know how to explain it. I love my mommy because we like to go on bike rides together.
My mom is the best mom in the world because she's so encouraging and she taught me so many things. She taught me basic math, she taught me how to read, she taught me history, she taught me all these things, and I wasn't even homeschooled. The most important thing she taught me how to be is a man of character and a man for God. She put me on the right path to success and a godly life. And that is why my mom is one of the best moms in the world. I love you, Mom.
Coffee time, it's early here. We didn't have Zoom calls before, did we?
Couldn't even think of it.
Hi, Moms. How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Oh,
I'm just in sunny Florida sitting outside.
I think it's so cool that we have our moms on here today for this reason. They're online every week from Colorado and from Indiana. We love having you guys with us. We've got one announcement for you today. We thought since it's Mother's Day, we want to say Happy Mother's Day to both of you. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers at our church. We've got one really good announcement for our church and we need your help.
So Mom, what's happening next Sunday?
Next Sunday, we're having drive-in, couldn't even think of it, drive-in church.
Yay! We are driving drive-in church. It's going to be awesome. We're excited.
Yeah, lots of people are going to be wondering, well, what does that mean? What does drive-in church mean? Mom, what does everyone need to know about drive-in church?
Well, first, you don't have to drive in. You can watch from home. I'm not going to drive there from Colorado. I am going to watch from home. Just drive in. Just drive in. You need to stay in your cars. You can't get out of your cars. There's not going to be any bathrooms, so go potty before you leave home. We will serve communion to you. We'll have all the rubber gloves on, face masks, so that's kind of what it's going to look like.
So people can roll their windows down. We're actually going to have live worship.
I think it would be important to know what times, because we are going to switch up next week's times a little bit.
The new times are 9, 10, and 11. You okay?
That was perfect, Mother.
You get people in and out that fast.
It's a 30-minute service. We're so excited to be celebrating this day as a church, and we're excited about next week. It's going to be an incredible week, 1 week only, drive-in church. You're not going to want to miss it. So we'll see you guys there. Moms, happy Mother's Day, and thank you so much for being a part of today.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.
Just drive in. Go potty before you leave home. We'll have all the rubber gloves on.
Times are 9, 10, and 11. Couldn't even think of it.
That was perfect, Mother.
Yeah, this is a special bonus.
We can do this again sometime, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm so excited about this week's teaching because you're with me.
What?
Yeah, and
Thanks.
you're one of my favorite moms in the world, and the mother of my children. Happy Mother's Day,
Thank you.
Jen.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're kind of twinning today. We're wearing our Binge Jesus shirts. This is from The Chosen. Our church just walked through.
So good.
We
good.
kind of had a watch party with a TV show called The Chosen here recently.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4 chapters of the Book of John. It was great, and so
I can't wait for season 2.
yeah, we're excited about that. If you were a part of that with us, that's great. Yeah. So today, we've been talking all week about this text. Would you talk a little bit about the series we're in and exactly which Bible person we're going to today?
Well, I was a little shocked when you said, teach with me on Mother's Day. And I thought we were going to do like some of my favorites, like Leah, Naomi, Hannah. But actually, you did pick probably my most favorite book. It's Daniel. And it's in the middle of Daniel's life. And so many cases in Daniel's life that we see God leading and guiding Daniel and Daniel being faithful to God. So I'm excited about being in this series with you. And I actually think Daniel translates thousands of years later to us. You know, even now as a mom today, I think there's something for us in this. So, but before we do that, we would like for you to check out this video that kind of gives an overview of the history of the book of Daniel.
The story of Daniel. Let me introduce you to Daniel, the main character of our story today. He'll be back. To put things into perspective, here is us, and here's when Kung Fu Panda killed the box office. Here's the cross, and here is Daniel. Hello again, Daniel.
Hi.
Why don't you go to that table over there?
Huh?
The table, Daniel. Yes, that table. Why don't you have some cereal before we get started? I have to tell you something today, Daniel. So there's an evil king that's coming to take you away from your friends and family forever. You'll never see home again. There's no time to run, so I'll just tell you. His name is Nebuchadnezzar. And he's here right now. And off you go. Nebuchadnezzar is seizing Jerusalem to take people to his kingdom. So he took them from Jerusalem all the way to Babylon. When Daniel reaches Babylon, he will be introduced to a brand new culture with brand new people and leaders. In a society where everything is different. They have new names for him and new things for him to do, and also new clothes for him to wear and new books for him to read. And also new food for him to eat. Gross. Oh, don't you look dapper, Daniel? Oh, fine, then take it off. But don't pout. Oh, look, visitors. Seems as if they want you to worship their idols as well. Good job, Daniel. You continue to stay true to God. A long time later, about 70 years. Oh, hey, Daniel. It's been a while.
Hello.
Oh, you look 70-ish years older. I heard there's a new king in town. Where is he? Please, show me. Is he the nice kind? Oh, good king. It seems like this relationship is making the elders jealous of Daniel. So they proposed a new law in which you can only worship the king. And the king agreed. They were actually trying to trick Daniel because Daniel worships God and he can no longer do that in Babylon. So he will be arrested and taken to the lion's den like any other. This devastates the king. Oh no, Daniel. Oh. Are you okay? Look to your left. And look to your other left. And look to your right. It's all around you. An angel appeared and shut the mouths of the lions because Daniel trusted God. King Darius was so excited to see that Daniel survived. And he's like, high five, man. And Daniel was like, yeah, dude, God saved me. And King Darius made a decree that everyone shall worship God in Babylon. And that is the story of Daniel.
So, 605 BC, we see Daniel as a young man, about 15 or 16 years old. The Babylonian Empire is taking over Jerusalem, taking over Judea. And Daniel would have been raised as a child, as a Hebrew young boy, knowing the word of God backwards and forwards. They would have been totally taught and submerged into the word of God. And Daniel is stripped from his home, taken from his home, taken to a foreign land, taken to Babylon, which would try to acculturate him or to teach him, strip him of what he knew as a child, as a Hebrew, and make him into a Babylonian. And we have this young man who, as a mom, I'm just picturing, I mean, he's 15, 16, I have that age in my house. I've got 2 boys around that age, and I'm just putting myself in the shoes thinking, as the mother, what would it have been like to see my son taken away? And then I also put myself in the shoes of Daniel and think, what would it have been like to be Daniel, to be taken into to Babylon, and for 3 years, they would teach them the ways of Babylon. They would teach them of the gods of Babylon. There would be foreign gods, many, that they would have been taught to pray and to learn about. And so that is the story of Daniel up to this point. And so what does it say?
You know, and I just, even watching that video and talking all week, it's just, I don't think we can put enough emphasis on, and I just don't want to trip over too quickly, the devastation that it was for, I mean, the whole family unit broke down. I mean, when this nation comes in, Babylon comes in, this great power, they come to take, Babylon, this great nation comes in to take over, right? And when they come, they're going to take all the spoils of war. That's just not, money and jewels, but they're taking the cream of the crop, right? The nobles'
the best of the best, the nobles' children, the princes of Jerusalem. Yes, it would have been the best of the resource. It actually mentions they were really good looking and very smart and had favor with man. And so it's just interesting that that's who they would take and use to be in the king's court.
So put yourself, we're going to walk into this, and we're in this series called The Middle, and the whole idea of the Middle series is perfect for where we're at right now as a nation and really the world. We are saying now that this is the first time in the history of the world that all at one time, the entire world is concentrating on one problem. Like, this has never happened before. And a lot of people are finding themselves stuck. or on pause or in the middle, or all of their plans were kind of put to a halt and there's this hurdle that you've got to get over. And so Daniel's there. There's nothing to go back to. There's no one to return to. And he's got to figure out life. And the very first thing that we learn, because really there's something for all of us in this today, if we feel that way, if we feel stuck in the middle in some sense, or we're waiting for a new chapter, the thing about Daniel, of all of these characters, that's different about him is it looks like for him, it's never going to end.
It's never going to end. But you know what he doesn't do?
He
doesn't give up.
He doesn't quit.
He doesn't give up.
Daniel 1, verse 8, the very beginning, it says, Daniel resolved not to defile himself. Yeah. When they're told, you've got to eat brand new foods that they had never eaten before, Daniel...
He would challenge the rulers and say, let me show you what I will look like when I eat our Hebrew food the way that we would normally eat.
But that attitude was a bigger, that's how it showed up just in the food, but it was an attitude that Daniel had of, I might be physically in another place, I might have a situation around me that I can't control, but who I am, I'm not going to change that. And Daniel decided, I will not defile myself. What he did is, he didn't quit.
He didn't quit, but I would also say this. He was a good young man. He was respectful. He responded to his leaders that in Babylon, these foreign leaders that had ripped him from his home, he still reacted in a way that would have been honoring God. And it blessed him. He was given favor and in times when probably it wouldn't have happened, but because of who he was, and he didn't change who he was in this time.
Yeah, multiple times it talks about his kindness. And so if we're looking for, a way to stand up to the man, right? Or the way to disagree with authority, Daniel models it time and time again in the most extreme of circumstances. Here's the number one thing, though, that Daniel does. It's found in Daniel 6, verse 10. We've got to keep our connection with God. It's the number one thing Daniel does. Let me tell you what's going on in here. Daniel is a little bit older when we get to chapter 6, and there's a trap that's been set against Daniel because he has all this favor and he's from a foreign land and he's risen to a place of prominence in the king's court.
Right, some of the guys get jealous of that.
They're coming after him, and they know that Daniel prays to his own old God, the God of Israel. And Daniel is not taken on praying to the king like the king is a god, or praying to the other approved gods. And so they set a trap. And Daniel in 6:10, here's what happens. Daniel learned that the decree had been published. This decree is saying you can only pray to approved gods and the king. He went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Yeah. You got to keep connected to God. That's number one.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, when we're stuck, sometimes prayer becomes the last thing instead of the first thing. I think when we read the book of Daniel as a mom, as a dad, as anyone listening to today, that in this season, going to prayer first is what Daniel did. It kept him connected to Jerusalem, his homeland, which he loved. It kept him connected to the one true God that he loved and served, even in the midst of that.
Daniel didn't stop praying because he was not going to be rescued. Right. I mean, God is very upfront with Daniel walking into this and all of Israel. God tells them how long they're going to be into captivity. Yeah. He's not like, he tells them, you're going to be in captivity for 70 years. Yep. And Daniel doesn't stop, and he doesn't stop his connection to God. I love, Jennifer, you pointed out that Daniel serves not just one king.
Well, I think the whole theme of the book of Daniel is about the sovereignty of God. And Daniel being raised to serve and to believe in the one true God would know that he is sovereign and he reigns over them. And in Daniel 4:34, it says, for his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And it's, he would have known, he would have trusted a God that had made promises and he believed in those promises.
So there's 2 more things.
Yeah.
There are 2 more things that Daniel does in connecting to God. He keeps connected when culture says it doesn't matter. Daniel keeps connected to God when culture says to stop. Daniel chapter 6, verse 10, it's the same verse, but I want you to think about this verse. Let's go a little bit deeper in a new way. It says, when Daniel learned the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. I love this. I mean, he is yearning for home, a home that he'll never return to. I believe Daniel never goes back to Jerusalem. He's at least 80 years old when we get to chapter 8 of Daniel. We know a remnant after the 70 years is allowed to go back to Jerusalem. I don't think Daniel ever went back, but he opens up the doors where his heart yearns for, and he cries out even after he's already learned what culture is saying. Culture is saying, do not pray to any other God. And Daniel's like, I'm not.
Wait, not just culture. The rulers of the kingdom were saying, do not pray to anyone but the king and these gods.
So, Jen, talk to me a little bit about
I think
the name.
So here's the thing. If we back up just a little bit at the beginning, we know that when he was brought into Babylon, that him, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were given new names. Daniel was his Hebrew name. Belteshazzar would be his Babylonian name, and it's actually giving honor to the god Bel. And so when we think about him staying connected to God in this time, staying and praying to God still, and not giving in when culture is pushing him, Daniel's life, they would rename him, the Babylonians would rename him, but they would not change his heart. His heart never changed. He would get a new name, but his heart would never change.
There's so much wrapped up in that whole piece of the renaming. I mean, you ever been around someone and they get your name wrong?
Yeah.
Or they give you a nickname that you didn't ask for?
Right.
I mean, there's something about a derogatory.
Do you have a nickname?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, we've a derogatory nickname though. I mean, it's nice when someone gives you like a loving nickname, but when someone gives you a name that goes against, I mean, this went against the
everything
deepest.
that he was.
Yeah. I mean, his God, his culture, his people, his mother that he would never see again, that was probably killed in this conquest, and this is what's happening, I believe, to all of us that might feel stuck in our story. There's culture tries to give us a new name.
It does.
Culture tries to say, hey, we're going to pin this on you or put this on you. And Daniel keeps connected to God, even when culture says it doesn't matter, when culture gives him a new name.
I think as you become a Christian, that the culture or the enemy even wants to lie to you and say, you are not of Christ. You're who you've always been. The shame that is upon you that has been your name your whole life, or whatever it is that you have brought into your Christianity if you've made that decision to follow Christ. I think the enemy tries to rename you. Once God's given you a new name, the enemy says, no, you're not of Christ. Remember all those things that you have done. Remember who you were. Remember, you're never going to be good enough. I mean, the enemy just throws those into our mind. And I think it's super important, especially in the middle of whatever you're stuck in and what we're stuck in right now, or we all have our version of being stuck, that when we stay connected to God, that those lies, they cannot penetrate our brain. They cannot take over our mind if we stop them, take them captive and say, no, but my God says what my God says. Here are the promises of God.
And this is why I'm so reminded when Daniel's given a new name and when Daniel's told he has to do these things and he stands up to culture, he keeps connected to God and he stands up to culture. I'm reminded of this, that in the very last book of Revelation, John's vision on the island of Patmos, we understand that Jesus will give each of us a brand new name when he comes back. When we are with Jesus in eternity, you are going to get a new name from God the Father given to you, from Jesus. That's how incredible is that. When
names
the enemies,
matter,
when
right.
culture's trying to give you a new name, God ultimately is going to do, and names matter. Here's the last thing. We got to keep connected no matter what the consequences.
Yeah.
In this part of Daniel's life and you saw from the video today, and if you read it this week, especially the first 6, 7 chapters.
There's so much in this book. We're hitting just a few of the main points here.
This is that one story in Daniel's life.
This is the one. This is the one where the kids' videos are made from.
It
this
is
the one.
It's a big. The king has been tricked into making this decree. And it's happened from some of the other people in his royal court that do not like Daniel because Daniel's risen in prominence. And listen to verse 6:16. Okay, Daniel's already disobeyed the king's order, and he's connected to God no matter what culture says. But we've got to keep connected no matter what the consequences are.
I think something I want to say here real quick though too. Just remember this: he has been in Babylon for decades. This isn't at the begin. Daniel meeting this moment is not at the beginning of his story. He has been in Babylon and he still has not disconnected from God.
Multiple kings he's
Four
served.
kings.
It's not just like one king he had a relationship with. Daniel 6:16, here's what happens. The king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. And here's the part. Then the king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you. I mean, there are going to be consequences when we stay connected to God. And Daniel was aware of that. Okay, we saw that he already knew that the decree was signed. He goes upstairs, opens his windows where everyone can see, and continues to pray multiple times a day. What blows me away by this is that even the king around him, those who are in authority around him, say, you stay connected to your God continually. When other people start to recognize that you are steadfast, constantly devoted in your connectedness to God, then you know you are actually, you've got like a strong connection there. That's the thing that pulled Daniel through the long years of being stuck in exile.
Yeah. I think Daniel at this moment, I can imagine him sharing just by who he was with the kings. It wasn't like, I don't think he was very vocal about his God, but I think he lived it and it was obvious to the rulers. And I think as a faithful believer, they did not see Daniel crying out to be removed from something. They saw Daniel being faithful to God and believing that he would deliver him from this. And I think as a faithful believer, the questions that we want to ask sometimes is, how can I get out of this situation? I mean, if I'm Daniel facing this lion's den, I'm saying to myself, where's the way out? God, give me the way out. And I think a faithful believer would say, what can I get out of this? What do I need to see about myself? What in me needs changed? God, I'm in this mess. I'm stuck in the middle. What do you not want to get me out? Maybe he doesn't want to remove you from it because he knows that while you're in that and you're in it and you're stuck in it, that you're going to be closer to him, or that you're going to draw near to him, or you're going to call out to him. And maybe he wants us to, at times, to be a faithful believer, to say, what can I get out of this? What does my heart need out of this? How do you need to change me, God?
We want deliverance.
We want deliverance.
But God many times meets us in the middle, not with deliverance, but a season of developing us. And I love this roadmap. I'm excited for us as a church that we've looked at many characters, so many characters, and even in this series, we've looked at people where there's a payoff. Right? There's a time, when Joseph is kind of redeemed there's a time when Moses gets through the Red Sea, and there's all of these kind of an arc of the story, a climax of the story. But for Daniel, here's the deal with Daniel. I don't believe that Daniel ever goes back to Jerusalem.
No.
But Daniel,
I don't really know, but no.
But Daniel's a real person.
Right.
I mean, regardless, here, if he did go back,
it's not
when
what
he
it
goes
was.
back, he's 80,
It was
90 years old, and it's destroyed, and his life was gone. Sure, he got there in his last days, but it's done. He never got to marry and have children and be in the land, and so here's what it is for us, though. Daniel's a real person, and Daniel's waiting right now for the very thing that we are waiting for. If you feel like you are stuck in the middle and you can't get to chapter next, and you don't know if you'll ever get out, in some of the situations we are in, if I were to be honest with you, I'd say that's probably never going to happen. But here's where we're the same with Daniel. We're all waiting on the return of the King. Because Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, is a real place. See, Jesus said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. That wasn't a figurative language. He's going to prepare a real place. And the hope that Daniel has is the hope that we have, that we are going to walk. Get this, we are going to be able to go and experience and walk on the streets in New Jerusalem with Daniel.
Yeah.
We are waiting on the same thing. It doesn't matter how stuck you feel, how you might not be able to overcome what you're currently in. The hope that we have and the roadmap that Daniel gives us is a big deal. We've got to stay connected to God. We got to stay connected to God no matter what culture says and no matter what the consequences are, and not quit, not defile ourselves. And that is going to carry us through exile.
I think if I could just say one final thing to the moms, or to everyone, but to the moms. If today you're sitting here listening and you're thinking, I am stuck. Maybe it's a cancer. Maybe you just got a diagnosis of cancer. Maybe you just found out something about your child that you didn't know. Maybe you found out something about your husband that you didn't know. Maybe you've never been married and you've longed to. Maybe you wanted that child and you never had him. I just want to say this. In the middle of that, what Daniel says to me in the middle of my own mess is that I have a faithful God. I have a God who I can cry out to. I have a God who cares about my situation. And when I stay connected to him, when I stay close to him in the middle of my mess, he doesn't always pull me out of it, and he doesn't always change the situation, but he refines me in it and he develops me in it.
Yeah. And we love you. And I don't think that this day is always easy for moms.
Yeah, no.
I think it can be a tough day. There's a lot that many of us have to celebrate. But if you feel like you're stuck in any way and you don't know how to get out, this will pull you through.
Yeah.
I mean, this is real. And so this week, we would say stay connected with God. No matter what culture says and no matter what the consequences are. And to all of you, happy Mother's Day.